So I looked out my window and saw him standing right there, holding up his spreadsheet, all puffy chest. He was so proud of himself. He knew he'd nailed it. We locked eyes, and that was it. Do you guys know what's happening here? Locked eyes, he's standing there, puffy chest. Oh, I was in love. You see, my home office looks out into my front yard, and there was Dave standing at my gate, spreadsheet in his hand and a grin on his face. I told you, he knew he nailed it. He was ready for this. So Dave, he had done his homework, very proud of him. He had the spreadsheet, joy exuding from me and terror at the same time. Okay? So now you're with me on this journey. Dave and I had just started dating a couple of weeks ago. We were very early on in this journey that we had. But just a few days before, Dave announced to me that he'd deleted all his dating apps, told all the others goodbye, and that he was all in on me. Now, this guy's a real catch. Most women would be thrilled. I was absolutely terrified. So I asked him to watch a video called Head, Heart, Hoo-Ha. I asked him to watch this video. This is very serious. I don't know why you're laughing. Very serious. Watch this video called Head, Heart, Hoo-Ha. I asked him to watch it, make his lists, and then we would each share what we were looking for to see if we were on the same page. So the fact that he took this homework assignment so seriously gave him some solid points on my boyfriend rubric. After all, one of my must-have non-negotiables is appreciates my adorkability. Points for the guy. So that night, Dave and I had a really powerful conversation and literally got on the same page about what we were each looking for in a partner. And we made a decision. There's research behind this. Research shows that making your complex thinking visible helps you make better decisions. It helps you make better choices, getting out of your head and putting it onto paper. And that's exactly what Dave and I did that night. We got on the same page with what we were each looking for and decided this is it. Here's another example of how that works outside of my personal life. In the medical field, for example, medical practitioners take their complex thinking out of their heads and put it on paper. This helps them reduce their cognitive load so they can make better decisions about the medical interventions they're going to engage in. They're not juggling all these pieces in their head, so they can make better choices about how to move forward with their patients. Now, brace yourself. I'm about to show you an actual cognitive map from the medical field. This is an example of the kind of complex thinking that doctors rely on when making important decisions that might be life or death. So as we're ready for this, it's a lot, okay? I want to make sure you're ready. Like, you might want to hang on to the chair rails. I don't want to be falling out of their seats. You guys all ready to see this? It's a lot. You ready? Yeah, you're ready. Okay, you're ready. Here we go. What? That is a lot, right? But here's the thing. This is what our brains would actually look like if we could take everything that's happening between our ears out and put it onto paper. As complicated as that looked, this is the kind of thinking that we can make visible that actually makes decision-making easier, right? That's a theme that you're going to hear again and again and again in this talk. We are taking information out of our heads and putting it onto paper so that you can see what you're thinking and better understand it, right? Doctors aren't the only people with a lot going on in their brains. We all have a lot going on in our brains, and we could all use some help. Lucky for me, I have a dad who loves to give help. One of his absolute favorite things to do is to give advice. Most of it, you're laughing at him, he's really good. Most of it's really great advice. Sometimes I'm actually smart enough to listen to it, right? One of the things that my dad used to teach me to do when I had an important decision make was to use a pros and cons list. Anyone else? Pros and cons? Anyone? Yes, let me see. Yeah, okay. My dad got to all you guys too. Told you he was good. Okay. So a pros and cons list helps. A pros and cons list help because it helps us get things out of our heads and onto paper so we can see things that we might otherwise overlook. Okay. Well, I took what my dad taught me and I leveled it up. Instead of just pros and cons, I use 3 categories to help me make decisions: must-haves, wants, and dreams. For example, when I was searching for my last apartment, I mapped out what was truly non-negotiable. Those were my must-haves. What was desirable but flexible, those were my wants. And what my absolute perfect apartment would have, my dream. What this map helped me do was stay focused in a really tough search. I knew when to quickly walk away or when to stretch my budget just a little bit further. And sure enough, I found my perfect home. Right? There's a reason this worked. Because I could get everything out of my head and onto paper, I could see my thoughts. And when we make our thinking visible and we can see our thoughts, we don't just see them, we understand them, and we can then act on them. Now, I knew this, but I didn't always follow this. And sometimes I got myself in trouble, right? When I wasn't following my pen to paper. So the time that this most surfaced for me when I got in trouble was with relationships. It hit me hard when I found myself in a relationship with yet another fella that was the wrong boyfriend. It turns out that this guy, like many of the others, wasn't happy all the time. He was high all the time. Not my guy. With this guy, I found myself back in a pattern I'd repeated before, and it wasn't working. It was time for me to make a change in how I was making decisions. It was time for me to get on the same page with myself about what I really wanted in a boyfriend. So I did. All of it. I took it all out of my head and put it on paper. So I knew exactly what I was looking for. And when Dave came along, I was able to recognize him as my perfect match. Right? See where I'm going next. Oh, I know where I'm going next. This is going to get exciting. You're going to meet another one of my friends. Right? Here's why making thinking visible works. Making thinking visible works, again, because it helps us unload all of the clutter into our brain. It externalizes it. We can get on the same page with ourselves and sometimes others. Again, this helps us see where we're going. It helps us see what we're thinking, again, so we can understand it and then act on it. Okay? Sometimes we do that really well. Sometimes we get in our own way. I would often get hijacked by my limbic brain. Your limbic brain is the part of your brain that is wired for emotions, and it's the first filter for information in your brain. Have you ever made a decision that felt so right in the moment, only to later ask yourself, what was I thinking? You've been there, right? It's not just me. We've all been there. Okay, we're all in this together. So this kind of hijacked wasn't just me, wasn't just you. It also happened to Zoe. Zoe, like me, was looking for love, but was stuck in unhelpful patterns. So when I nudged her to put what she was really looking for, not my boyfriend, she's not looking for him. When I nudged her to put what she was really looking for, he's fabulous, but she's got her own business, okay? When I nudged her to put what she was really looking for into words and onto paper, she moved from being a love at first sight, hopeless romantic to perfectly matched, engaged, and married in less than a year. By the way, she's still a romantic, but now she's just head smart and hopeful instead of hopeless. It wasn't just in my personal life that I struggled with making decisions. Like many of the leaders I work with, I struggled with business decisions too, like hiring. I found myself swayed by first impressions, or I might have found myself tempted to help someone in need, only to face challenges further down the line. I found that I was making decisions based on my gut instead of my goals. But when I really thought about my ideal assistant and listed the actual qualities and skills that mattered to my business, I was able to get on the same page with myself and start to lean on facts as well as my feelings. And when Kieran came along and applied for a position, I knew the right choice to make, and I was confident in my decision to bring her onto the team. Okay? I use these maps in all areas of my life. And it's important that we get information out of our heads and onto paper because it helps us again juggle all of this clutter we have going on in our brains. If you've ever seen that movie, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, there's a scene where there's a chocolate bar that goes from one side of the room to the other, and there's all this stuff like up in the air. Blah, blah, blah. That's what's happening in our brains. There is a lot of information going on in there. And if we can get those thoughts out of our heads and onto paper, we can actually see our thinking, and that scaffolds us into making better decisions. Again, I use these maps in all areas of my life, personal and professional. So I'm going to take you on a little tour of my life so you can see what this actually looks like. We're going to start in my kitchen, right? I'm a busy girl and a hungry one. So I keep this handy laminated visual in my kitchen. And every time I find myself running low on something that I love to eat, I pull out my highlighter, highlight it, and then the next time I run to the store, I take a quick pick of the map and boom, I know exactly what choices to make as I shop. Because health matters to me, I track my water using this visual. It helps me make thoughtful choices throughout the day about when and how much water to drink. And get this, because it's portable, it even works on an airplane. And this is when the people sitting next to me say, "Where did you get that? Did you get that from the stewardess?" No, I made it myself on my own personal laminator. Okay? All right. So those are some small daily habits that making thinking visible helps me with. I also use these for big, complicated plans. Like when my friends, Dave was there too, like when my friends and I decided to hike all the way across the Grand Canyon and back in a single day. That's almost 50, you guys are all thinking we're nuts, right? I told you, I'm special, Dave is special. We found each other, okay? We walked all the way across the Grand Canyon and back in a single day. That's almost 50 miles in less than 24 hours. I created this visual to help us make good choices along the way that helped us make decisions that kept us moving forward and kept us safe. We needed to know the route to follow, the checkpoints along the way, distance to each landmark, where to find water, where to find toilets, and other things to look for. And I just saw somebody taking a picture of that. You want to go hike the Grand Canyon, don't you? I can help you. See me afterwards. We'll talk about this, okay? This map was invaluable. It helped us make good choices, and in our darkest moments, we could keep going forward instead of going astray. All right, so I don't just use these maps in my personal life, I also use them in my professional life. If you've ever been on a video call with me, you know that my office is flooded with charts. This is one that I use to help me design and build my business. All I did was lay out the categories I needed to think about, identify all the tasks I needed to complete, and then I just got to work. And the beautiful thing about this map is when I completed tasks and marked things as done, I was visually motivated for even more wins. This map is an example of how I tackle my biggest tasks. Because if I try to keep my to-do list in my head, guess what happens? I get distracted by the next shiny thing and nothing actually gets done. You're all nodding your head. You've been there. Yes, I can see it. Yeah. Okay. I tell you, these things help, and they're very pretty too. Look at all those colors. All right. So I don't just do this in my office. Here's me on an airplane. I actually travel with sticky notes. This is me on a 12-hour flight drafting out my TEDx talk. There's no way I could keep all those ideas in my head. So while everybody else was sleeping, I pulled out my stickies and literally made a visual storyboard at 30,000 feet. This helped me make clear decisions about what to include in my talk and what to leave out. Because even big decisions, like sharing your story with the world, are easier when you can see your thinking. Right? I got a big life. I got a busy life. So I've got a calendar. Raise your hand. You got a calendar? You got a calendar? Okay. I have two calendars. I've got a digital calendar that I love, and that's wonderful because it's portable. It goes with me anywhere. The problem with the digital calendar is I can start moving things all over the place, and I can choose what to do and what not to do. Like that workout I don't want to do, keep moving, right? So as great as those digital calendars are, there's nothing like putting pen to paper. Right? There we go. Yeah, we hear. So you got it. Okay. So every week I sit down with my calendar, and guess who sits down with me with his calendar? Because he's got a calendar too. Dave. Okay. So we sit down. We both sit down with our calendars, and we map out what our week looks like. And then as the week goes on, we color code it. Green for what gets done, red for what gets moved or missed. What this helps us do at the end of the week is sit back, look and learn about what we could do better the next time, right? There's a theme here again. Getting information out of your head and onto paper helps you make better choices, right? Let's see, what choice am I going to make? Oh, we're going to talk about David Hirely. This is Dr. David Hirely. He is my mentor. He is brilliant. Right? I first learned about visual tools from him, and he was doing work not originally geared towards adults. He was doing work geared towards children. Because his mission, what he wanted to do, was help students do better in school. And because he wanted to help them do better in school, he created a visual language that pairs each thinking process with a simple graphic. So he created this language that literally helps students get their ideas out of their heads and onto paper, help students get on the same page with themselves. Right? I spent 15 years helping teachers learn these tools. I trained thousands of educators and saw firsthand what research tells us. Students perform better when they can see their thinking. Right? I was pretty inspired by this, and I thought, well, if that works for students, maybe I should try this too. So I asked Dr. Hirely. I said, hey, Dr. Hirely, how does this making thinking visible thing work for adults in the decision-making process? And David explained to me that our brains can only hold so much information at one time. And because they can only hold so much information at one time, visual mapping helps us get all these ideas out of our heads and onto paper so that we can see our thinking, locate patterns, and then make better decisions. Research tells us that students that are aware of their thinking are better able to control it. If that works for children, think of what that can do for us as adults in the decision-making process. There's power in being able to control our thinking and to be on the same page with ourselves. Okay? We make a lot of decisions every day. Research shows that adults actually make over 200 decisions today related to food choices alone. That's a lot. I'm thinking about food choices right now. I can't wait to see what lunch is, right? So this is all just with food, 200 just with food, right? So now I have no idea where I'm going. Oh, now I know where I'm going. This is going to be exciting. Wait for this, right? So not only are we making 200 decisions every day, in the business world, this intensifies. Now you get to see it for reals, right? Executives report that they spend on average 30% of their time making decisions. That percentage increases for C-suite individuals. C-suite executives spend 70% of their time making decisions. But here's the real problem. 61% of professionals across all levels say that most of that time is wasted. Oh, was that Siri? Tell her I'm busy. What? 61% of people are saying all of this decision-making time is wasted. This inefficiency can have staggering impact on businesses, significant losses. For a typical Fortune 500 company, this equates to 530,000 days lost every year. Wasted. 530,000 days, one company. That equates to approximately $250 million in lost labor costs, just because we're running meetings poorly, wasting time making decisions. One company tackled this inefficiency head on. They created what they called a meeting manifesto. They took their meeting rules and they posted them on the walls of every meeting room. Every conference room had a meeting manifesto. The manifesto laid out clear expectations for the content, process, and participants in meetings. By externalizing their thinking and getting everyone on the same page, their measures of meeting efficiency and effectiveness went up 50%. Making thinking visible works. When we get our ideas out of our heads and onto paper, we get on the same page with ourselves and others, literally. It might take an extra minute. It might seem like more work. It might even seem unnecessary. But clarity comes when you can see your thinking, not just feel it. So take that minute, make your thinking visible, and see what happens. Because success doesn't happen by chance, it happens by choice. So choose your pen, choose your paper, and get on the same page with yourself.